All right, well, the Bills sure do make it interesting, huh? Another comeback win for the team, 39-34. Kevin Carroll, Stevie Johnson with you. This is the Buffalo End Zone podcast, and the gang's all here, Stevie. Andy Young out at Highmark Stadium joins us as well.
How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing great. Got to get in the plug. We are proudly presented by Toyota, and what a wild game. There were so many reasons for the Bills to lose this game. There were a few more down the stretch that ultimately proved why they won this game, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stevie, this couldn't have started off any worse defensively for the Bills. Like, I was joking around with you. My whole notes from that first drive from the Bengals is convert on third down, convert on third down, convert on third down. Eventually, the Bills got around to stopping them. But, man, that second half, they needed those turnovers bad because it sure looked like Joe Burrow and that offense was making mincemeat out of the Bills' defense.
Yeah, Kev. Look, it was confusing to me because the defense was playing well, actually. You know, you look at the first and the second down, and they were flying around. They were playing press coverage, a mix of it. And then it seemed like as soon as they got to third down, Kev, they continued to play soft coverage, and it diced them up. As you see, the Bengals were 7 for 7, 100% in the first quarter. Second quarter, they were only off on one possession, but that one possession was sparked everything going into the second half.
Right, and that was at the end of the half, Andy. And, I mean, you can't say enough right now about Christian Benford in the role that he's been on. Another defensive touchdown for the Bills cornerback coming up huge in a moment that couldn't have been any bigger.
Yeah, fellas, think about the role that he is on right now in the last two games that he has had. Last week against Pittsburgh, a scoop and score touchdown off a sack by Joey Bosa. On the very next possession, he comes up with an interception. In this game, early in the game, corner blitz, he sacks Joe Burrow. One of the few times they were able to get to Burrow in this game. And then what does he do in the second half? Makes an instinctual, athletic, just fantastic play where he's coming in at the line of scrimmage, jumps up when Burrow's about to pass, and picks it off. Races back the other way, outraces Jamar Chase 63 yards to the end zone, and that really turned the game around. It was part of a stretch where the Bills in the fourth quarter started down 10 in the fourth quarter and ended up scoring 21 points in the span of 4.5 minutes to really take charge of this football game. And Benford has been absolutely everything as advertised. Got off to a little bit of a rocky start. He was fine during the course of the regular season early this year, but now he is locked in. He is in a spot where he is playing some of the best football I've seen from a cornerback in a Bills uniform, maybe ever. I mean, it's just fantastic. And he really is doing all the things he needs to do to help spark this Bills defense big time.
Yeah, Benford coming up big, Stevie, right after you and I were talking about if they can't stop this Bengals offense, you got to somehow get a turnover and get the ball back because they were burning clock and just marching down the field, putting up points throughout the day. And then Benford gets the pick six, and then Benford says after the game that he was not supposed to jump for the ball there. He was supposed to keep his feet on the ground. But like Andy said, his natural instinct, which I think most people would be, I got to jump up and grab this thing.
Indeed. And I did not like to hear that. I didn't like the fact that the coaches are saying, don't jump. I understand that that's what you're supposed to do as far as stopping the run, not jumping. There's no pass, obviously. But when you let a guy compete, it doesn't matter what the rule is. You just let them compete. And the guy like Christian Benford has shown to make plays every time he's in a position to compete. And that means whether you're guarding somebody or you're just around the ball to scoop and score or to catch an overthrown ball. He's in that position because he's a star, and you got to always put him in that position. I've seen a few plays early in the game where he was guarding guys that wasn't the number one. No disrespect to them, but that's not where our CB1 needs to be. He always needs to be on the number one guy because he's shown that he has ascended to the level of the Richard Sherman's talks, the Darrelle Revis talks. And again, not only because he can cover guys, but because he's a playmaker. That's even better, Kev.
Yeah, right, Andy. And then right after that, as you mentioned, the Bills get another turnover instantly after that. And that's I don't want to say snowballed because of the snow, but that's when things really started to snowball.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Phillips tips a pass, and Big Phil, right? Like, people malign him a little bit for, pumping up the crowd, but then, sometimes struggles in the run game, but he's there when you need him. And he's been reliable for this team in his, I think, 4th or 5th iteration with the Bills this season, and he jumps up, tips the ball up in the air, and then look, AJ Epinesa is there, and Epinesa's had a handful of these kind of plays over the course of his career where he comes up with an interception. That really turned the game on its head, right? That sequence of plays on back-to-back passes from Joe Burrow. I mean, we talked about it, Kevin, you and I was talking with some media members here today, like the Bills defense needed, whether it was through turnovers, forcing punts, like 4 or 5 stops in this game to have a chance in this game. Didn't look like they were going to get it at certain points, as Stevie alluded to early in this game. But then, they got a couple of punts, slowed them down a little bit, and then those 2 turnovers were absolutely massive. And then we knew the Bills were going to have to score close to 40 to win this, and that's what they did. So defensively, was it a great outing overall? No, but it's great in the fact that they made huge plays when it mattered, and they stuck with it. They also kind of shut Chase Brown down in the run game for the most part, too. So, I mean, hats off. They were depleted going into this game. Mm-hmm. Obviously, no Bernard. Bosa out again. Their pass rush already struggles to get home, and it did again today with no Bosa here. So, kudos to these guys for just hanging in there and sticking with it. And then when those big plays present themselves, taking advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, and Stevie, Shaq Thompson in the lineup now with Bernard dealing with injuries, and he's going to make it hard for the Bills when Bernard gets healthy, because this defense really came to life when Shaq Thompson became a regular in this lineup.
Man, you know what, Kev? And that's the unfortunate thing about this business. It's unfortunate, but it's sweet, because you understand that one guy in Shaq Thompson is going to rise. Maybe he'll get more money. And then we have another guy in Terrel Bernard who's been utilized so much, and now he's injured, and then you got another guy coming in to take his spot. Mm-hmm. Me, if I was a general manager, I would try to work money out, but keep this rotation, because this rotation looks so good, bringing Shaq in, having Milano, having Bernard come in, and then adding Dorian Williams. Who knows who can else add to this team, like a Joe Andreessen if needed. But what I like what I see right now, and hopefully we can keep these guys together.
Thompson, Andy, really coming up big as far as turning around this poor run defense that the Bills had leading up to his arrival as a regular.
Yeah, I mean, this run defense has been troublesome all season long. And honestly, Sean McDermott's system, the way they play a too high safety shell and nickel a lot of the times, almost invites the run. We've talked about that a lot over the years, but it reaches a point where teams gash them so bad that it's unsustainable. But Shaq Thompson has done a great job at coming in and really correcting that to a large degree. Teams will have their moments, no doubt about it. But Thompson is physical, he's a little bit bigger, he's got that leadership, he knows where to be, and he's just playing reactive. And I think he's had some injuries this season too, but right now he's playing healthy, which was a lot of the knock against Bernard, is just like he didn't look the same player because he's been hurt so much this season. So once Bernard is healthy and back, I think they can kind of take their time getting him healthy. And then once he's back, you got a decision to make, but maybe, you play some more heavy sets, but you got to keep Shaq Thompson on the field.
Getting off the field on third down continues to be an issue with the Bills. Stevie, what was different in your mind from the first half to the second half?
I would say where the DBs were playing defense at. In the first half, the DBs were playing 6 yards and beyond. And that's not good enough for a team that's not accumulating that pressure on a quarterback, And then in the second half, we saw guys playing within 4 yards, letting the receiver get up on them within that 4 to 5 yards. And that was disruptive for Joe Burrow, and it threw him off. And as you can see, he wasn't as perfect as he was in the first half.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like, even with solid coverage, these Bengals pass catchers, I mean, including Mike Gesicki was coming up big, and T. Higgins.
They showed up.
Yoshivash, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole crew, man. It's crazy.
Not to mention T. Higgins. I feel like he was concussed, but he was making some great plays.
I know you bring that up. I think we were both talking about it. There were a number of times he was coming off the concussion protocol. He was holding his head a few times as well, but ultimately stayed in the game.
Yeah, and from my experience, I know what he's feeling, and it's one of those things where, yeah, we can still play. However, it's cobwebs up there, and he will feel the effects later. But he won't be out, I would say, unless they sit him out, which I think they should sit him out. But when you score 2 touchdowns after banging your head 2 to 3 times and then you catch a one-hander, it's like, okay, it's hard to sit this guy down. But, sometimes we need our leaders to protect us.
Right, absolutely. Andy, on offense, one of the big things we talked about going into this was not the Bengals defense, not good against stopping tight ends. And right off the bat, Josh Allen goes right to Dawson Knox for a big gainer. And we saw all the tight ends in this one, Andy, had their moments.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals came into this game the worst in the NFL at covering tight ends. And this was a perfect matchup for Dalton Kincaid to come back from injury and to get Dawson Knox going. I think it was really, really important, especially the struggles they've had at outside wide receiver to get consistent production out of those guys, to utilize the tight ends, use your running backs. And look, your 2 leading receivers in this game, Dawson Knox, 6 catches, 93 yards. I think that's the 3rd highest yardage mark of his career. Dalton Kincaid, 4 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown. And then you get Jackson Hawes in the mix on a wide open touchdown to kind of really put this game away for the most part for the Bills, at least to get them up a couple of scores there late in the 4th quarter after that Epinesa interception. So the Bills need to lean into who they have and what they have. And what they do have is 3 really capable tight ends, especially when Kincaid is healthy, who can do damage both in the running game and the passing game. So that's going to be a consistent theme down the stretch here, is getting it to those guys, because when you can, get guys on safeties or linebackers and have matchup issues, that's where the Bills can present problems for other teams. So they really need to lean into that. They did a great job of it in this game. Kudos to Joe Brady and Josh Allen for making that happen.
In the NFL, Stevie, game planning, I mean, I knew the Bengals were bad at stopping tight ends. Andy knew about it. You know about it. Obviously, the Bills knew about it. When game planning, do they sit down and say, listen, guys, this is a no-brainer. This is where the weakness is, and we're going to go after it all game.
Yeah, and they showed it, and it showed. I feel like, early in the season, offense was trying to find playmakers on the outside. We was trying to force it. And I think everybody has realized amongst the Mafia that this is a wing team running type of offense. Utilize a tight end first, and that's okay. That's fine, as long as you know that this is your type of team. I correlate that to my junior college role. When I went to junior college, I signed to Chabot Junior College with 5 of the top wide receivers. A new coach came in. He changed the entire spread offense to wing T.
Wow.
So wing T. We had 3 out of those 5 guys transferred to other schools. So it's full run, it's heavy run, and a lot of tight ends. And that. So I know what that type of offense feels like to be in, and you have to be a guy that's not self-absorbed. You got to understand the offense comes first, and when you're in the NFL, it's tough because you got a lot of eyes and you got a lot of money, and you expect us to do a lot. But in this type of offense, you're not going to expect our outside guys to get 115, 120. 30 yards, 40 yards, but some great blocks. That's A+ effort, and that's what we got to understand with our Bills.
That's what I was going to bring up there, Andy, is that these Bills wide receivers have a role really right now, blocking in the run game, blocking down the field. We saw Cooks blocking way down the field while Josh Allen was running through the Bengals defense in the second half on that long touchdown run. I mean, even some of the Bengals players, I don't think ever turned around to see what Josh Allen was doing. But you see Gabe Davis, you see Cooks, you see all those guys getting in the mix in the blocking game to help get a team W.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, because you got to do something on the field productive, whether that's getting, like Stevie said, 115 yards and 2 touchdowns like you're a T. Higgins, or you're helping other guys in this everybody eats kind of offense that is a little bit different than some offenses in the NFL. And, maybe it's not fantasy football friendly, but it can be effective when you have Keon Coleman, who I thought did a nice job blocking, Tyrell Shavers, who always does a nice job blocking, Gabe Davis, you mentioned Brandon Cooks. And then when the opportunity presents itself, make a play like Keon on that slant before the James Cook fumble into the end zone, right? Like, make a play when it's called for. Like, same thing last week, right? Like, you have to step up when your number's called. It might not be all the time and it might not be frequent, but you got to be able to be selfless and make plays both as a blocker and helping guys downfield, all those sorts of things that really lead to team football, especially given the way that the Bills are most effective at winning football games offensively.
Stevie, excuse me, Josh Allen, right? Doing what Josh Allen does. That pass to Khalil Shakir, like, just watching that in utter amazement. The throw is ridiculous. The catch is ridiculous.
And just to stay
you can
alive.
watch it over and over again and be like, how did that actually happen?
Yes.
The touchdown to Knox that was overturned, right? Like, just crazy plays, guys.
Right.
Yeah, keeping the plays alive. And not to mention, he's got a 6'6" guy, 478 pounds, chasing after him, and he's just sitting there stuttering them every time, just holding them off.
Right.
And then he finally gets it off. He's like, okay, you're not going to cut Khalil? Let me just get it there to you. And Khalil still made the play, though, so shout out to both of those guys in the line, everybody. That was cinema.
And, I mean, that wasn't just it. That play sticks out to me, but Allen with the long touchdown run, that was huge. And then at the very end of the game, when they just needed a first down, it was like 3rd and 15, gonna go to the air. Like, you and I were like, all right, what are we doing here? Should they just run some clock and punt it? No more timeouts. But instead, Josh Allen goes back to pass, plants his foot, runs it past the first down marker, and picks up the first.
And that's what we wanted. We wanted Josh to have two options, to the tight end, looking to the running back, and then take off. And he did everything that you was calling out. That's why I said you had some wizardry going on today, Kev.
Well, I'll take credit where credit's due, Andy. I called that sequence towards the end of the game where Josh Allen rolled out and got the ball to Knox, but I think Knox juggled it out of bounds, so it was ruled out of bounds. Mm-hmm. I called that play. I'm like, Stevie, you roll Josh Allen out. You give him the option of running it into the end zone or finding his buddy Dawson Knox. That's what happened, and then it didn't happen, and then ultimately it happened with Jackson Haas.
I mean, look at what the guy does numbers-wise. Like 220 or 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, passer rating of 139.7. And, oh, yeah, he just goes out there and rushes for 78 yards too, right? Like, he puts up 330 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'm not going to say by himself. His teammates obviously matter, but, like, he accounts for those. And, like, Sean McDermott said it before, Josh Allen is the ultimate eraser, right? Like, when you have a player that is capable of just like doing extra human things, of doing things that the average quarterback just can't do, it's really incredible. Like, Joe Burrow was awesome for most of this game, right? Short of the 2 turnovers, but he's carving them up. And then Allen just has a different even level from that when you add in the just incredible throws on the run, keeping plays alive, and then running the football himself. I mean, like, when Allen is playing like that and the Bills kind of hold the turnovers in place, they're just really tough to beat. And, you know, it's another kind of classic Allen MVP type performance.
Yeah, no turnovers for Allen in this one. James Cook, 2 fumbles in one drive, technically speaking. One got called back because of a holding. Didn't get to 100 yards today, Stevie. But
20 off.
Aside from the fumble, in which I thought, Josh Allen taking some of the blame for that fumble by saying he should have just handed it off. Instead, he did a pump fake, then handed it off, and that might have put the ball in the wrong spot. But tough for James Cook, but he's James Cook. He's the second best player on this offense.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Right. We were saying that, if James Cook make a mistake with the fumbles, we understand that he scores 20-plus touchdowns almost every season now that he's been in the league, is what it feels like. So you can let that slide, similar to when Josh throws an interception. It's okay. We can let that slide because we know he's going to do something great after that. One thing that I really loved about this team, they talked about it a lot in the post-game interviews, is being together, having each other's back. But I feel like I've been seeing that a lot throughout the season, even early when it was on Cole Bishop. People were attacking him. You never seen anybody hang their head on the Bills. You know, you always saw them, come on, let's go, let's get right back to it, or supporting them. And then you see Bishop ascend. He does great. That's something that's special, you know, and they got to ride that. And I think they understand what they have in that locker room.
Andy, how big of a game was this for Dawson Knox? I think locally around here, you hear a lot that they spend all this money on Knox. He's not really part of the passing game. This was a game where Dalton Kincaid's back, but maybe not 100% healthy, and maybe Dawson Knox was the guy to go to, and ultimately 93 yards receiving, did have a 2-point conversion catch too. So he did have that. I thought it was a great game for Dawson Knox.
Yeah, it almost had the touchdown there too, like I mentioned earlier, where he just kind of bobbled it at the very end and the ball hit the ground, going out of bounds on a great throw from Allen. Look, I've been one of those guys too that when you look at the big picture of roster construction and you're paying Dawson Knox like $14 million a year, and people are like, for what, right? To your point, for one, he's beloved in that locker room. He is loved by those guys. And, you know, that counts for something. It doesn't count for everything, because there's a lot of guys who, you know, are great locker room guys that end up, you know, not being great players. But Dawson does all the dirty work, all the things they ask of him. Like, you got to remember, he was the number one tight end for this Bills team at some of their highest points when they were throwing the ball all over the yard. He had big games, right? You know, I bet there's been some talk, and I've wondered this myself, is he a cut candidate, a release candidate going into next season, just given where he is on the salary cap and what his production is. But, you know, I think it was huge for him to go back out there and show, like, look, remember who I am, guys? Remember, I'm the guy that used to get on angry runs and do all these things, right? Because, like, I'm a beast out there. I mean, he has been a selfless character for this Bills team. You know, kind of changing roles a little bit. He's the inline tight end. He does a lot more blocking. But look, like we said earlier, when you have Knox and Kincaid and they're both going, roll with it, and Hawes too. So, I mean, just a huge game for Dawson, and a good dude that I think a lot of Bills Mafia roots for.
And Kincaid, Stevie, very injury prone at this point. It's kind of been the bugaboo with him in the early part of his career now. So I always thought it was good to have someone like Dawson Knox in the fold, because you can rely on him. He has delivered before, but I think it's really important that you have a healthy Dalton Kincaid down the stretch and going in to the postseason, where maybe you can limit his play until it gets to do or die time and rely more on Dawson Knox and Jackson Hawes.
Yeah, in my opinion, I say I credit that to depth. You know, we spoke about that, having depth on your team at any position. We talking with the tight ends. Now it's how you utilize that depth. You know, you got two stars in Kincaid and Knox. With Kincaid, yeah, you want to utilize him a lot because he's the more faster car. However, with the injuries, now you have to utilize the Old Faithful. You know, utilize Old Faithful, and then use that turbo car in spurts. You know, and that's what the offense is doing. Their chemistry is great now, what they've progressed to and evolved to as a team.
Andy, this game had a must-win feel to me going in. How big of a win do you think this actually is?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, because if they lose this game, I mean, playoff chance, like, there's a chance they don't make the playoffs if they lose a couple of games down the stretch, right? Like 10 and 7, you know, might not make it in. 11-6 probably gets in, but you never know. So this was big. It is against a team that has been a difficult foe for them in the Bengals. Like, talk about their record all you want. They didn't have Burrow for almost all the season, and you can see the difference in this team with Burrow out there.
Right.
And tough weapons. I mean, Chase and Higgins and all the other guys they have, the running game with Brown. Big win, and it keeps the AFC East alive for them too. Like, huge game again next week when they go to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots at Gillette, and, you know, keep their hopes for the AFC East division title alive, or else maybe the Patriots can put it away.
Stevie, how big of a win was this to you?
It was a must. It was a must win. I'm riding with Andy's head on that. You know, you lose this game, potentially you got to really look at the future games and say, all right, now we have to win out in a sense because of how the dynamics are playing in the NFL. Like, look at the AFC North. We just beat the
the Steelers.
The Steelers.
Yep.
We beat the Steelers. The Steelers just beat the Ravens. Like, I don't know what's going on out there. So you got to just win.
That AFC North is a mess, but the more you can kick the Bengals down and make it so they don't sneak in, Andy, is better for the Bills. However, as we record this, things are still unfolding. You still have the Houston Texans out there.
I forgot about the Texans.
Andy, which is another team. They're now 8th right now.
Dangerous.
With the Colts sitting at 7 as we record this.
And the Colts are starting to fall apart
Yeah.
too. And then, you hate to see it, an Achilles injury for Daniel Jones. I mean, the Colts are in danger of not making the playoffs after, for a good chunk of this season, they're riding as the 1 seed. And that just goes to show, how quickly things can change in the landscape of the NFL. But if you're the Bills, just get in, like Stevie said. Is anybody in this AFC unbeatable right now? Absolutely not. If you're the Bills and you get in, you got to be confident you can go out there and beat anybody. And I think Bills Mafia should be confident on that. They might not win the AFC East. That 5-year reign might come to an end this season. However, I don't think that matters a ton once you get in. Of course, you'd love to have the 1 seed. That was the ultimate goal, I think, for this season beyond the Super Bowl. I think that's out the window. So now it's all right, just get in, because if you're playing well at the end of the year, maybe Ed Oliver comes back, some guys get healthy, you got a shot.
As things stand right now, New England 1, Broncos 2, Jaguars 3, Steelers 4, Bills 5, Chargers 6, Colts 7. Colts, that's probably going to change if they're without their quarterback. But, guys, you look at that 5-4 matchup, Bills at Steelers, after what we just saw play out in Pittsburgh, Stevie, I think if you got to go on the road, Stevie, that's not that bad.
Yeah, not that bad, but still, I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not saying nothing against the Steelers.
Hey,
this guy's a former player. We get it.
Yes, sir.
He knows. Don't talk out of school, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm good.
I've come to think of, all you have to do is go back to me, the Giants beating the Patriots, who were looking to go undefeated. That everyone was like, oh, if the Giants make it there, we're going to kick the crap out of them. And then what ends up happening,
Super Bowl.
the whole thing leading up to that with, Brady joking around, oh, if we're held to under 17 points, that's a joke. Mm-hmm. And the Giants ended up showing up and doing that. So I don't wish for any matchup at this point. But it's just interesting because the Steelers and Ravens, Andy, keep flip-flopping. So it's probably going to change again.
And like Steve, the Pittsburgh probably wouldn't play as poorly again the second time around as they did in that last matchup. But I think that's favorable. But anybody you get in against, if you're the Bills, you can compete with, right? You barely lost to the Patriots the first time around. They're probably going to be close to the 1 seed, or the Broncos. Are you really super afraid of the Patriots? Or not of the Patriots, but of the Jaguars? They crushed the Broncos in the playoffs last year. Now their defense is really good. Chargers are up and down. So it's just get in and see what happens.
Yeah, that's where it stands. And we're in December, and this is when the Bills come to play. We go back a couple of years. It was basically must win the rest of the month of December, and they came through and did it. The team's not totally the same as it was back then, but it's doable. And I think after a win like today, that could catapult them to ripping off wins the rest of the way.
Yeah, I just see a number. It's 12 straight wins in December for Josh Allen.
12 straight wins, Andy, for Josh Allen in December.
Yeah, I mean, they turn it on at the right time of the year. And a lot of times, like Sean McDermott said, we can't afford to be inconsistent at this time of year. Our backs are against the wall. And, for whatever reason it is, they push the right buttons. You got guys who are gamers. You got Josh Allen, who, is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best in the league. That certainly helps your cause. And, it's kind of that culture thing, right? Some people scoff at and make fun of, if you're winning, the culture's great. If you're losing, the culture sucks. But there is something to it. Stevie, you were in locker rooms for a long time. That stuff matters, that guys, you brought it up earlier, guys are there for each other and they pull for each other. And that is here. There's no doubt about it. That's one of the things McDermott has done really well over the course of his 9 seasons here.
Yes, I can attest to that one, man. Like, this locker room is special. It's truly special. And, I mean, the Bills Mafia guy can see it firsthand. But from the outside looking in, I mean, this is the dynamic of a locker room that you need, because when things aren't going great, you see guys still lifting guys up. Nobody's head is down. Nobody's sad, or you don't even see nobody reacting like, oh, man, like, you know, those type of – you don't even see that. That's a sign of maturity that's next level, you know, and I think they can definitely ride on that.
No one's flipping out on the sidelines after something. And, you know, you look at with James Cook fumbling – there wasn't anyone attack. He came back out, and they were still handing him the ball, and he played a role in them getting this win.
That is special. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, there are. I want to bring up the Cook fumbles a little bit earlier. I'm not overly concerned with it, but it is a little concerning. I think he's got 6 fumbles this season, which is a career high for him, and I think he leads the league in fumbles lost. I think he's lost 3 of them from the running back position. So. That's something he can clean up. Luck goes into that a little bit too. Like, you know, you take hits, you get as much pounding as that guy does. But like Stevie said, I don't think anybody's going to be down on James Cook. And they're going to ride with him because he's been electric for 2 straight years, and they're going to need him to continue to be.
All right, before we go, they head into New England for a big game next week. Do they stand a legitimate chance at getting a win?
Absolutely. Especially seeing how Christian Benford has been playing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Patriots dominated the Bills because of energy. And I'm not going to say the score was dominant, but their energy dominated the Bills, where it seemed like we was hush-hush and they was just rah-rah at our home. And now with Christian Benford being able to lock up with Stephon Diggs, I think that's going to stop that energy, and that's going to help us.
I agree. I think the Stephon Diggs revenge game here in Buffalo has taken place. I think the teams have both kind of changed over that time, Andy, and I think that the defense is more suited to handling the Patriots now than it was earlier.
Yeah, the defense has come a long way over the last, really since the Atlanta game and the bye week coming out of that. They'll have their moments. Like today, they were getting absolutely carved up by Joe Burrow. But for the most part, the defense has performed better and kind of found its footing. You know, New England's really good. Vrabel is a really good coach. Drake May, you know, perhaps the MVP favorite at this point, although I think Josh is climbing back into that conversation too. It's going to be a tough game, and it's going to be fun, but that's why you love this stuff. Like, it's nice when you have rivalries that mean something, and these two teams potentially could be going at it for the top of the division. So the Bills can certainly go into Foxborough and win. It's not going to be easy, but they're definitely capable of doing it.
All right, more on the Patriots-Bills game coming up on Wednesday. Andy and I will be back with our midweek Buffalo End Zone podcast, and then the 3 of us for the post-game show back with you after Bills at Patriots coming up on Sunday. For Andy and Stevie, I'm Kevin Carroll. As always, thanks for joining us.